The breaking news of the NBA is that Kemba Walker signed a one-year deal with AS Monaco, which is a team that plays out in France. Let's be honest here. When a player his age signs with a team in the EuroLeague, that means that there weren't any teams in the NBA that expressed real interest in signing him. It's safe to say that his days of playing big minutes for an NBA team are over. I wouldn't go as far as to say that this is his forced retirement, since he's only 33 years old, but it sure feels that way. So that leaves us with an important question. How should we view his NBA career? Well, let's start by taking a quick look at his career accomplishments. He's a 4-time All-Star, and he was selected to the All-NBA third team in 2019. This was the only time he made the All-NBA. If we go by the eye test, he was an exceptional offensive player. In fact, I think he was one of the best bucket getters during his prime. He was especially dangerous in the pick and roll setting. He peaked in the 2018-19 season when he averaged 25.6 points per game. That was a season when he scored his career high of 60 points against the Sixers. Ben Simmons couldn't stop him, and Jimmy Butler couldn't stop him. What I'm about to say is kinda sad, but it's the honest truth. Strictly from a talent perspective, I think he's the best player that's ever played for the Charlotte Hornets. Better than Glenn Rice, Larry Johnson, Baron Davis, or Al Jefferson. Alonzo Mourning could have eventually gone there if he stayed longer, but he left just as he was entering his prime. I don't even know if that statement is even worth anything, but we'll give Kemba that title. But that just tells us how bad that franchise has been for decades. They have never been able to build a championship contender throughout its entire history. Some players have had the good fortune of playing for a franchise that knows what it's doing, and those who never got to experience that suffer because of it. Kemba Walker wasted his prime playing for that loser franchise. For the 8 years he played for the Charlotte Hornets/Bobcats, he made the playoffs twice. In 2014, he was in his third season and Al Jefferson was their best player. They got demolished by LeBron James in the Miami Heat that year. Now 2016 was their best season, as he led the Hornets to a 48-34 record. Believe it or not, that is the 5th best record in franchise history. They might as well raise a banner for that season. But they lost in the first round in a tough 7-game series against the Miami Heat once again. Those 8 years showed us that you weren't going to get really far if he was your franchise player. That's why the Hornets lowballed him during the free agency in 2019 when he was eligible for the Supermax deal. They offered him $60 million less, and that led him to sign with the Boston Celtics. In theory, he was supposed to replace Kyrie Irving after he forced his way out of Boston, and he did a very good job as their point guard. He was their second leading scorer, and the Celtics reached the conference finals. I think that was a role that was best suited for him. He didn't have the pressure of being the team's top scorer and facilitator, but he was more than capable of taking over the game when needed. And that was even with him being limited with the knee issues that he was dealing with. The tragic thing is that this was only a 1-year sample. His knee issues kept getting worse and worse, and that's what ended his NBA career prematurely, as it has done to many of the great speedy point guards of the past. We never got to really see a large sample size of how he could affect winning for a team with championship aspirations. For a player of his talent, he had such an unlucky career. He couldn't control which team was going to draft him. The Bobcats did at the 9th pick. He couldn't control the front office failing to add any high-level shot creators to ease his load on offense. He couldn't control the freaking pandemic ruining life as we know it, and making the whole 2020 postseason worthless in the eyes of many basketball fans, which was the only time he went farther than the first round. And of course, he couldn't control his body breaking down at such a young age. Without playing much meaningful basketball in the postseason, this has caused his underrated player to be largely forgotten. In fact, I totally forgot about him until the news broke out about him playing overseas. From a historical perspective, I think we're going to view him the same way my generation views Steve Francis. He was an All-Star for 3 straight years, and he was also an incredible bucket getter. But he only played 1 time in the playoffs, which was in 2004. This was Yao Ming's second season, and it was predicted that they would be one of the league's best duos. However, they got rid of him in exchange for Tracy McGrady in the offseason. The Orlando Magic were also in the rebuilding phase after drafting Dwight Howard, and Steve Francis forced his way out of that situation after it was reported that he refused to re-enter a game against the Sonics in the 2005/06 season. Then he suffered major knee injuries in the next 2 seasons that also ended his career prematurely. How many times do we talk about this all-star player now? It's very rare. I feel like the same thing will happen to Kemba Walker. For NBA players, sometimes all you need is a little bit of luck to make a mark in the league. Kemba didn't have much of that. I'm sure he could have had major success if he was put in the right situation. He did for 1 year, and he made the most of it. But it's not enough to get his name immortalized. He had great moments throughout his whole basketball career, but he will ultimately end up underappreciated. But what about you all? How do you think his NBA career will be remembered? Do you think he had Hall of Fame potential? Make sure to comment on your opinion. Thanks for watching.